What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? Long week ahead. Yeah, yeah. Same. It's FOMC this week, I think. We got it on what? Was it Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday or Wednesday. So that should be interesting. I think we have some fairly important data going into it also. We get jolts. Yeah, we're getting jolts, we're getting the dot plot, all of it. Bearish on Carvana and they get into the S&P 500. I'm not bearish on Carvana right now. It's been rocketing for like weeks. Also, getting into the S&P 500 isn't a guarantee of ROI or stability. It just means that the company met a basic set of metrics required to be added. And the S&P had to dig pretty deep this quarter to add some constituents. They added several companies that are of questionable performance. Friend mentor type of mine is an FA and gets the fidelity reports. Their internal reports are all about how AI is super bullish and 7,500 end of next year, etc. Be a slow year if we get to 7,500 by the end of it. But that's nice. It doesn't solve the problem with the debt markets. I'm pretty sure if you pick the right AI, you can just make cock with it if that's what you want to do. Funky donkey. But yeah, most internal research reports aren't very bearish right now. There's only a few that are publishing anything that's questioning the viability of risk assets over the next year. No, I'm not gay. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you don't have to be gay to enjoy cock. Additionally, isn't that kind of how we started off 2025? We started off 2025 on the back of AI is going to moon everything. We're going to be at 7,000 by the end of the year. We're pretty close. Blah, 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 blah. But then we tanked 25%. So, you know, It's not like this is all perfectly stable. There's a lot more questions in the AI space than there are answers, and the consistent rollout of continuously increasing capex is definitely not helping the situation. Although cheaper compute vis-a-vis Google, sure, but Nvidia is what 7% of the S&P, and if the rug's pulled on the narrative, Nvidia can dump 50%, no problem. So what would everything else fall? And I think just the brief shakeup over tariffs in April shows that. It shows the fragility of risk assets right now. If Bitcoin wasn't a big enough clue. All right, what am I looking at? The S&P hasn't even double topped, which is maybe more concerning. And it's not like, I mean, positioning's nothing like it was back in Jan either. It's definitely not as confident. Vol sellers spent the last week like just backing off of positioning, and all the positive carry on volatility got eaten up. And that, I mean, that was like all of last week was just chopping between positive and negative carry on vol. Went up, sold calls, went down, sold puts, back and forth over and over. How many tickers can we give you? I don't know. I'll shut you off when I feel like it. Upstart? Upstart still hasn't regained the local high, which is not a great look. I'm still not bullish on this till it actually breaks out to where like longer term positioning is. But uh might get a little bit of a pullback here. The chain is so slim. I mean, like look at Delta since like August. This is not like a good signal. Ugh, yeah, I mean, I still don't like it. I guess it depends what time frame you're playing on it. If you want to play like short-term fluctuations between like I don't know, like 42 and $48, that might be somewhat worthwhile, but if you just want to directionally trade it, it's mm, not my favorite here. Why isn't IV going up at all? Like, look at out of the money IV. It's just sloppy. There's like no interest on the chain. All the interest is to the downside. There's some event vol priced in for October or December OPEX. Yeah, all the vol's down. Like this, I don't know. This doesn't look very good. It's nearing like a local peak in gamma. There's a lot of gamma out here, but it's too far out of the money to have any impact. Um, yeah, still just really not bullish unless it gets back above 50. If it got back above 50, I'd be kind of interested in it. Back above like 56, I'd be pretty interested in playing the long end, but can't say I've been very excited about it otherwise. Like there's no structural support on the chain anywhere. Downside support's weak. It was a little bit at 45, a little bit at 40. But these are small positions. Like they're not that big. Most of the interest on Upstart is out here, like 50 to 80, 90 in that range. That's where I think things would get really bullish on it. Still in the money puts being bought. There's some call buying. Not a lot. Some out here at 50 for December OPEX. How much was that? 13,000 calls. That's somewhat significant. Gamma Max is at 51. I like the contraction in Gamma Max, but I don't like the delta profile. I don't like that all the gamma keeps falling off the chain every Friday. And structural, like over time it's increasing, right? But it's barely. So it's getting like more and more trading activity, but not a lot of like long-term bullishness building on the chain. A little. This could turn around more, but it's still, I mean, historically fairly average. Definitely nothing like what we saw, back in July. It's the daily. Crowd? Uh, Looks choppy. Maybe a little bearish over the last like 4 or 5 days. Again, not a lot of support, so not a lot of positive delta holding things up. It could fall back to like 500 pretty easily, and slipping 500 would be very bearish. Down to like 470. 470 or 460. Short-term skew flattened out after the local high. Climbed back up a bit on Friday. Looks like bot puts at 450. Bot calls maybe like 580. And then definitely more downside interest. So slightly skewed to the downside. I mean, especially further downside. Gamma falls off pretty quickly. Fairly steep curve, although it's hard to say where the top of that is. Be interested in seeing. I check out exposures. Delta. That's like 14 days. Bearish. I guess net changes. Oh, it's been dropping. Hmm. A little positive carry. 10-day. 30's got a little bit. I would say it's choppy with a slight bearish, like slightly bearish bias over like maybe just over like the next like 30 days. Hmm. HV is gonna fall. Yeah, just watch gamma neutral on it. I mean, probably choppy unless it fails GN. It seems pretty easy. Visa? Yep. Ooh, I kind of like that. Hmm. This looks a little bit bullish. Oh yeah, good support. Plenty of out of the money interest out to like 350. Fairly negative delta to the upside also. So squeezy. Seems like a lot of that interest somewhat short dated, but some pockets of longer dated stuff. I don't like skew. But somewhat recovering. I do like gamma if it continues up. Look how much gamma it picks up to the upside. Holy fuck. Like between spot and 350 it picks up like 8 so 60 million? Almost 70 million? Usually a thinner options chain on this too. Yeah, look at the in and out of the money like density on calls. Puts are below spot. Yeah, a lot of put selling. Not a lot of in the money put interest, at least not near dated. So I would say that the market expectation is for things to continue higher. It's got like a little bit of a positive trend on DEXA. Consolidating GNDN. Gamma Max moving further out of the money as Gamma accumulates near 350, 360. Looks pretty bullish. I like it. I mean, not a huge amount of price improvement available to the upside, and obviously, like, you know, very rarely does Visa fucking hit Gamma Max. It does on occasion, but still, uh, yeah, I like it. I'd like to see more Delta on the chain, I guess. They have earnings coming up anytime soon. Yeah, there's even like a technical trend to watch here. If you want to just focus solely on the options. It's a pretty good technical trend, and the test for that's around like 340, 340, yeah, between like 340 and 340, 250. So slight turnaround. 344 was the first step of uh, breaking the prior level into a reversal up at like 351, 354, and then if it cleared that upside gap at like 363, doesn't look bad. I mean, I'd be worried about consumer reports maybe falling a little flat during the holiday season, so I might not want to go long multiple months, but I think I like it. Looks pretty good. I definitely like the 350 target, somewhere in there. Maybe just like try to get exposure above 35 and see how deep in the money I could get. 1 second. Sorry about that. What's up, guys? Don't forget all your screen names are different now because YouTube changed it. But you can go into your like little YouTube hub and change your screen name back or to whatever you want it to be. MSTR. I mean, dangerous. You want to fuck around with that? Over massively overpriced options and shitloads of risk. Or, I mean, I guess it depends what you're going to try to play on it. But I probably wouldn't want to fuck with it. If I did some like wild out of the money shit, like 250, 125 strangle or something. The whole options chain here is completely fucked. Like 70% of the delta's gone. There's no gamma carried over week to week. GN just peaked out above DN, so there's a little bit of positive gamma supporting spot, but not much. Like total exposures like 19 mil. There's a steady slope of gamma if it increases to the upside. Volatility picks up, but skew doesn't look particularly great. Yeah. Puts are still a little overpriced. Calls are cheap, but expensive if you're wrong. I guess I like that whatever direction it moves, it's going to move that direction quickly. I know dipshit fucking announced that they will in fact sell Bitcoin if they're if their NAV falls under market cap or 1x market cap. Did they already sell some? Remember like 8 months ago when he promised they were only gonna buy Bitcoin and never sell any of it? Those were fun times. I don't know. I don't know if I'd fuck with this. It's probably just way too expensive, honestly. I feel like any theta on these contracts is gonna be ridiculous. Jesus fucking Christ. So as long as you're about 25% out of the money, you can get somewhat affordable like 40 DTEs. I mean you can offset some of this, right? Like I don't know. The volatility on it's so weird that it's probably fairly hard to set something up, but maybe you could do like uh, something like that. Maybe I don't know. The max loss is still dog shit. No, I hate all of these. Cap downside, bet on upside, something like that. Maybe. I think I might still just yeah. I might still just favor strangles. I guess if there's a bounce back in risk assets by like end of December, you only need to move 13, 20%. You know what? I would probably go long MSTR if the Fed does some sort of quantitative easing or announces some kind of quantitative easing. Because if cash frees up at the short end, then everyone's going to pile back into Bitcoin again. What in the fuck is going on in the hallway? What's next? Tesla? I'm short Tesla, filling out my McDonald's application as we speak. Maybe not for long. Mm, I don't want to look for 30-day skew to flatten before I shorted this, but carry's not particularly great. There's plenty of IV to the downside of spot. It's super skewed. Imagine puts are wildly overpriced. Looks like under 440, it shits the bed pretty hard. Can pull like 440 back to 400 on a failure. That seems pretty confirmable. 450 in the short term, it can just start to slip. Um, yeah, gamma falls off a lot faster under 440. IV is not very elevated, so you're definitely getting a lot of the fuck. Um, you're definitely getting a lot of call selling above spot. I would imagine. Yeah. So you're probably seeing the majority of these calls sold up here. There's still some in the money call support down to 45, but that's kind of short dated. And then put interest is shifted out of the money into the downside. Looks like there's some further dated positioning out here. Smaller. Not huge OI on any of these. It does seem to be flattening out. Put OI growing on the 35. Seems like on the 1st of December, put OI to the downside of spot picked up quite a lot. Let me look at the 400. Yeah, there's some profit taking out here. OPEX in the week after on the call side. See, call OI fell off by about 50%, and put OI continued to climb. It's very unlikely that there's a ton of put selling here because the carry sucks. So let me see what was true back on. I guess I just had to look at this back on December 1st. Yeah, that's roughly where you would expect. Soon the IV falls under historic vol. When that carry moves negative, that's probably why you're seeing, bot calls close out, short calls come in, profits taken. So short calls continuing to drive implied vol down. Yeah, I would say probably due for somewhat of a pullback. I mean, I guess if Fed news is or the Fed meeting, like FOMC, is kind of sell the news. I mean, I assume at this point we already have a 25-point rate cut priced in with, 90% odds that they're going to cut. In which case, yeah, that would be probably a time where people would be looking to take some profits. But confirmable, right? I mean, you can either confirm on a failure of 50, which is a little riskier, or a failure of 40, which is pretty good. AQN packs, but I don't think they're available on GS. I think AQN might be. That's just boring because there's like 3 strikes that are traded. But I'll pop over to TradingView because packs definitely isn't. I mean, AQN's been holding its trend. It's still reversing back to the upside, but it's been doing well. Seems to fairly steadily hold buyers. tends to turn around on the dividend date, which makes sense because the shorts want to get out. But upside breakout and reversal around like 67, so probably a better sign, or 670, probably a better sign of like long-term confidence there. They've been doing good though. I mean, ever since I picked it, they've been beating earnings. They've been doing kind of exactly what I described, cleaning up their balance sheet. I think it's probably important that they're holding the gains that they've gotten for the most part. Pax also been doing well. I think they finally beat on some earnings back in November. I mean, I still think continued shifting supply lines benefit Brazilian infrastructure. Um, so, I mean, I guess if geopolitical risk, vis-a-vis or like Venezuela, gets a little too heavy in the region, that could be like a near-term risk. I mean, I don't really know how that's going to escalate, but I would suspect that if it continues to escalate or leads to some kind of like boots on the ground type invasion, um, then I could see the U.S. continuing to push that front, which would be obviously very bad. Packs are spot into LatAm healthcare. Yeah, yeah, I know. Which is good. I mean, that's just some good portfolio diversification for them. I don't actually hate that at all. But they've been doing well. They're up 19% from my original buy-in. I think I think they're up quite a bit more from my actual cost basis, which is I think around 11 something, 11 and change. But there are some geopolitical risks to consider in the region, I guess. Other than that, I think they're doing fine. Maybe there's a little bit of risk on like a dividend cut if cash on hand gets a little eroded. But that might just be another buying opportunity if it happens. I guess it depends on your yield on cost. And then don't forget your taxes, like your foreign dividend taxes that you have to pay on that. What's next? BX. That was fun to short last time. They're climbing back. It's like kicked off a bit of the start of a reversal. This one I can actually look at the fucking options chain. Yeah, I mean, near term looks like there's interest out to about 160. This is about the cusp of where this starts a reversal, like an actual technical reversal on the daily. Um, Friday's Friday's steepening of skew and the well, I guess flattening of skew and the uptick in downside vol might be indicative that it's hit a local high. So I'd be probably kind of careful around spot. I don't think there's probably all that much IV. But yeah, that could pull back into more put selling. Maybe Maybe at like the 145 or 150 levels. But still slightly bullish on the chain. Upside between like 160, 165. Looks like 165 would be a little bit harder to break out from. 1 second. All right. Regen. Yeah. So just slightly bullish, but you have to be really careful of a reversal here. Obviously, gamma falls off to the downside as hard as it's gained to the upside. A little harder, actually. Um, with kind of that hump being at 150. So if this were to fail 150 in the short term, bearish. But if it manages to hold 150, 149, sold put stabilized price action, then it could move up to like 160, 165. Tougher to bet on. It's really not directionally trending either way. It's kind of a coin flip. Probably heavily dependent on the Fed meeting. Regen. Ooh, that's interesting. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to trade this. Momentum favors the downside right now, but things get more supportive as it approaches like 700. Um, like this range, like 670 to 700, things are going to start to get more supportive. Definitely just fucking got rejected hard off of Gamma Max. Pretty decent amount of delta falling off the chain, but Gamma flattened out over the last week. Skew adjusted Gamma started to turn up a little, although I don't think skew adjusted delta did. No. So, slightly bearish. Also, technically, slightly bearish. I don't know if it falls below 700 because it starts to pick up support right around here. But if it did, it can drop a bunch more. Wonder if the options chain's really very significant though. Weird. Looks like short strangle 700, 740 for this Friday. 690, 760 next Friday. 680, 760 for the Friday after that. Not really enough interest out in January to move the needle much except below 600. So, I mean, it's definitely skewed a bit to the downside. Probably a continuation, but definitely some support in here. As gamma, like, see where gamma starts to flatten out on the downside. Some of that'll be a little bit supportive. But I mean, I guess it's not bad. $18 worth of room to the downside. I'm sure the risk on options is excessively high though for the potential return. Definitely not as much range as something like Tesla or MSTR. Devian? That sounds boring. And it is. Yeah. Devian looks fucking boring. Looks like it's got some support at 37.50. Fails that, it could pull back to 32. If it pushes out to the upside, resistance at 40. It's slightly more bullish here. But flat upside vol, skews flat. Volatility hasn't really turned around on the 30-day or the 10. And 60-day vol came down hard, so it looks like maybe somebody bought like positions further out and then news got pulled back or something. I would say that this will most likely trend with oil. I mean, that's usually what it does. But it's fairly well supported here. Most of the gamma on the chain's in the money. There's room out to 39.50 if it continues to push up. Microsoft and Rivian. Microsoft actually doesn't look too hot. Hmm. Just keep bouncing back from the low, but then flat. Like no more. It's still awfully steep. A lot of the tech companies kind of look like this right now. IV picks up to the downside. The same. Falling back under 475 opens up a lot more downside. But support here between 475 and 480 is a decent amount of support. Kind of looks, I would say, choppy. Choppy, barring a failure of like gamma neutral. In the really super short term, looks like it might continue to push up back towards like 500. Although it doesn't pick up any like stability on that move. It does look like that's where it's headed, like this week. Although, if that rejects again and gamma neutral pulls back towards spot, I would probably feel a little bit more bearish on it. So, very short term, slightly bullish. Longer term, not looking so hot. Definitely not super bearish or anything, but a little bit. That loss of 475 would be bad. And what was the other one? Rivian? Ew. You want to sell calls? Something fucking went fuck you with the gamma. There's a little bit of room out to 20. Delta squeezes off to the downside back to 15. A little bit of steepening and skew. Near-term volatility hasn't come down that much yet, so there's still a lot of positive carry on the spread for calls there. It's like gamma's almost topped out. The only problem is like this flat range. You have to be careful selling calls. Like you need theta if you want to sell calls out here because if it bounces above 20, it can kind of continue out to about 2250 before pulling back. So if I were to sell spreads on the failure of the breakout above gamma max, I would probably want to sell them a little wider and with more theta. I would say right now, at least so far, it doesn't look super bearish. Gamma neutral's pretty far out of the money. But maybe flat. I mean, it may just trade kind of flat between like 19 and 22. 1 second. All right. What's next? SMCI. Wait, yeah, I finished Rivian. Rivian might have some call selling opportunity, or maybe actually maybe like condors, like or strangles, while vol crushes, with like the trigger being like IV10 under HV, as a like an exit signal. That might be what I would do. So maybe like sell the support, sell the resistance, and just let it fucking chop. I guess the risk there is like the last time I got rug pulled super fucking hard, but sorry, SMCI. It's starting to turn around. Delta neutral and gamma max are almost at the same fucking price, which is kind of wild. Um, Plenty of room out to 44 if it breaks out. It's gonna be a lot of volatility on that breakout though. Keep an eye on IV. IV 10 above 30. They're both holding above HV. Or IV 10 above HV 30. Those might be good long signals. Um, Definitely does look like it needs to get at least above 38 to start picking up volatility to the upside. But if it does, it gets kind of squeezy. I would imagine Vega exposure out there is kind of high. Wow, the negative exposure falls off very fast. Um, hmm. What's near term look like? Yeah, near term stacked. So a lot of short dated bets on this. Delta's pretty choppy. So you get out to like 36.50. Then it gets a little squeezy, but then like 39.40 or big resistance. Breaks above 40, 45. And then another really big resistance there. Vana gets kind of wild too. I would say if it broke 40, it would get out to 45. The actual peak of Gamma is way the fuck out of the money. So yeah, I mean it could. See that hump there? That like little hump. That's kind of hard to get over. Around like up to like 36.50, 37. But above 37, it's like the gains in Gamma start to get a lot cleaner. A little bit more improvement. This probably just looks like a shitload of out of the money bot calls in the short term. Yeah. 35, 37, some 36. Those have been increasing pretty steadily since about the second. All over like the next 3 weeks. So this is definitely like a short dated runner if it breaks up. And then be careful because well, Gamma Max on it's just kind of fucky. So ignore Gamma Max, I guess. But DN and GM being here may just mean that 35 is hard resistance. So you definitely want to confirm above 37, I think. And then above 37, it could run out to like 45. At least with the positioning that's there now. Is your name normally utubular69? If it is, then you're good. I'm interested in Fubo and ONDS. Alright, well, Fubo's fucking boring. What do you want to know about Fubo? It's not doing much. Price is falling. Maybe there's support at like 264 or at 228. That's where I would look to go long if I wanted to go long. Otherwise, it's just bleeding right now. ONDS. Oh. Gamma didn't fall off, but Delta did. Choppy between like 750 and 10. Bearish under 750. Upside resistance is at 10. It's probably not getting over 10 anytime soon. Looks like all those calls are for Jan, March. So 10 looks like pretty hard upside resistance. I don't think it's going higher than that. At least not based on how people are positioned on the options chain. Skew's kind of slumping a bit. IV's turning down. Yeah, this looks like flat or pullback. Probably flat. I would say like the 8 put and the 10 call are being sold. So flattish. Flattish, kind of boring. Yeah. A little upside room. A little downside room. But this whole range is very stable. I guess if you have shares, it might be like a decent time to just enjoy some covered call yields, but make sure you're out above resistance. To Netflix. And probably continue to shit the bed down to like 95. Looks like Gamma's gonna keep falling off. I mean, they just spent, what, $87 billion or something? The bounce up and then snap back down, and the fact that the stock's picking up volatility to the downside is pretty bearish. This doesn't look good at all. I would say this probably keeps selling off. I did say it was going to sell off after the split. I just didn't know they were going to try to buy Warner Brothers. But that was a big expense. Cock. Gurk, you think based on the reality that everyone ignores of the market state, it wouldn't be dumb to go leap full port puts out of the money on blacks. Hmm. I mean, with current pricing, there's some validity in it. I mean, VIX 3 month and beyond is a little overpriced, and like Contango is not that steep on the front end, so no, it's not a great time to buy really far dated puts, but they are slightly favorably priced. But I would at least want to have like some kind of catalyst in mind. You're talking like 2027 leaps? Like something bad between now and then? Maybe. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think there's a ton more upside in the market. Mechanically, like, Well, at least from a macro standpoint, I don't see anything that's going to increase leverage beyond significantly beyond where we've seen it, besides growth in M2. And so, I mean, let's see, if 69.20 was the last high, maybe we could get out to like 69.50, 69.80 this time around. I think it'll be pretty hard to get above 7,000 unless it's just like a 1 day spike for like window dressing. So, um, I don't think the Fed cut is bullish. I don't think Fed no cut is bullish. So I don't know what an ups like where the upside catalyst would be for increased leverage. Short-term cash is still a problem. Maybe QE. QE could do it. I just don't think the Fed's gonna go full into QE right now. Their balance sheet's still really high, but reserves are falling. So, and they work for the banks, not for the people. Blackstone, QQQ, March puts. Blackstone's got some room to the upside right now. So, I mean, we just went over that one. So obviously, I wouldn't short spot price currently with long dated puts. QQQ, maybe. I mean, the SQQQ split was, kind of nice. So SQQQ is like the better one to trade for options now. But mm, I don't really know if it's all that overextended. Hold on, give me a second. Hmm. Actually, I kind of, I don't want to get some calls on SQQQ. Hmm. Ooh. What's going on with Vega neutral here? That's since the split, right? December 1st, November 20th. Huh. That's fucking weird. Short dated. Long dated, though. 116. Also short dated. These might just be FOMC bets. Hmm. The fuck is going on with that? Hmm. Huh. It's wild. I think this might be kind of bearish as fuck. I'm just not sure if the data's right. Because there's this, like, period where, like, Delta's falling off, or Delta's rising in, like, a straight line. And Gamma too. There's gotta be something wrong with the data there. Hmm. 71. Upside. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Looks like a lot of fucking put selling, honestly. I don't know how much of that's from the split, though. Can you talk about vibe trading you have in Pigeon Whale? Yeah, so, I mean, I started a channel to brag about my intraday trades, where I would just post my intraday shit, and, like, people could ask questions about theirs. And since I figured Pigeon Whales was, like, a good place to do that, since most of the people there have a bit more money on hand, and it's a bit more gambly. Um, and so I post like whatever intraday trades I'm taking throughout the day. If I'm trading like SPX or something, I would say it's mostly SPX focused. And that's kind of how it started out. And a lot of people like copy trading me. Um, and then I don't know. It's kind of grown a bit. A lot of the other pigeon whales, some of who are more experienced traders, or have started posting and discussing their positions, and it's all like, I mean, most of them are beta users, so it's all very like gamma strike data heavy. But it's been going good. I mean, my win rate's amazing. I don't post every day, but if I think of it and I'm taking a trade, I put it up. I don't have a lot of losers. Canadian equities could outperform U.S. equities next year. There's validity to it if the dollar drops. I would believe that. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I see. Pretty stupidly accurate winners though. I have my moments. Like when we were $30 below spot and I sold out of the money butterflies, and then we closed at exactly that price. Last week was a fun one. Well, TQQQ split the other way. Didn't it? I guess you could go either way, but SQQQ calls would be better than TQQQ puts because SQQQ is worth more money than TQQQ, and options benefit from notional change. And this is both of these are leveraged ETFs. They're 3x daily leverage. So if you're talking about like notional change, you have a 3% move on TQQQ is going to be less than a 3% move on SQQQ, basically. Although they are closer now since the split. But if you're just think of like absolute value change, right? So SQQQ is like $66 times 3%. It's like $2. Whereas TQQQ is like $56, and that's like like $1.60. So SQQQ on a 1% day has two strikes of range, whereas TQQQ has one and a half. Wouldn't bidet tutorial? Like you just spray your water on your ass. You need a tutorial for that. Riley, that's a weird one. I don't know. I don't like what the delta on it's doing, but that's fine, I guess. I feel like Gamma Max pushing up's probably a good sign, but I'd like to see more delta on the chain. Pretty boring right now. Like, I don't even want to dig deeper. It just looks boring. Are we bearish on the market? I don't think I've been, like, super bearish today. We've just been going over equities, like individual tickers. We haven't really talked much about the market yet. I do think the FOMC decision's kind of net neutral. Like I don't think it. I mean, I think the QE QT side matters a lot, but I don't think the rate matters at all. And I think it's already largely priced in. So it's very likely that like a Fed cut could just be sell the news. Theoretically, with Japan already like leaning hard into their hike, JPAT doesn't even need to cut. So I don't know why he would. Probably better to keep U.S. yields higher. I mean, well, it's not, right? Because the debt payments are ridiculous. But it would the responsible thing to do would be to keep U.S. yields higher to prevent, outflow from U.S. bonds, especially between the U.S. and Japan, where I think there's a fairly significant amount of risk. I mean, leverage is just what at all-time highs or pretty fucking close. Again. Almost there. Got like 8 points to go. Yeah, it needs to be like 125. Hmm. Are we going to hang out 12 minutes for futures open? I'm eating corn chips right now. They're non-GMO. I wonder what will happen if every major corporation, pension, and insurer in Japan sells all of their U.S. treasuries at once. Hmm. It's doing like secret little windows. What the fuck is going on? I will say this. If we look at like aggregate SPX, the end of last week wasn't super bullish. There was still buying in the short end, but Gamma fell off. And then like VN and GN are moving away from spot, which is never like a good sign. We're still range bound, but people are pulling back like bullish bets. Or at least riskier bullish bets. Which probably means up until the FOMC meeting, things are going to stay choppy. Which isn't exactly the bullish breakout we want. Hmm. Yeah, there's a little pocket below us, so we can pull back to 650 pretty easily. Kind of hard to fall under 6840. Under 6840 bearish. Big resistance at 6900. This kind of seems like a... Oh, that's not working. Yeah, there we go. This kind of little pocket right here. That seems like a good trading range for the next 2 days. I guess we'll see what happens. If we open above 68.75 on ES or tomorrow morning, we could trade more in the upside range. So, like, out here. But probably with a tendency to fall back into that range. No problem. I'm going to hang out for 6 more minutes, so. Was there any news this weekend? 6840 looks like a cock. You're not wrong. You got like a little thing going on there. Hmm. Yeah, this will be interesting because we rejected off of the high, like the breakout of the local trend on ES failed on Friday. So I wonder if we like over the next 2 days before FOMC like pull back towards like 68.42 or maybe even back to trend, like 30.35, and then like Wednesday chop at 60, like 68.67. Hold on, sorry, for ES. Thinking maybe we can do like a little like into Wednesday. CHPT, I think it is. Oh, no, it's not. You want it on there? We can add it. Ryan's medal. What about it? Didn't CapEx pick up a bunch? Looks like margins crushed in quarter four, like after quarter four. Last quarter wasn't a big improvement on those. I guess ongoing war with Russia or big beneficiary of ramped up defense if Russia continues to threaten mainland Europe. If peace is announced, will it go down hard? Probably. Depends on the terms of the peace deal, too. And most EU governments are ramping up military spending regardless. So I mean, and some of that spending already passed. Two minutes. 2 minutes. We'll watch the ES open and then I'll hop off. Mm, interesting. Huh. Interesting. Oh, wait. I don't have ES on the screen. There it is. We open up and immediately get rejected? Weird start. Maybe fill the gap. Alright, well, not super bullish, so I guess we'll see what happens. VX down a little. BTC took a little bit of a shit back below 90. ZB and UB down. Interesting. Yields at the top end up. Redwire? It's kind of fun. You can take a look at it over on Gamma Strike. Give me a second. Sold put spot calls. Yeah, looks like a lot of bot calls. Ooh, yeah. Bullish. Short term. Not a lot of room to the upside, but some like a 10, $11. Looks kind of good. Looks like a lot of call buying further out. IV 10's a little high, but the 30-day IV is still really low. Term structure is completely fucked. For some reason, we don't have any visibility to the upside strikes, which is a little weird. Fucking funky options chain. But yeah, looks bullish. Flatter Delta on Friday, not great with weekly bet shedding, but if tomorrow has upside, then it looks really good. I think there's like a technical level not too far away from spot, like with the gap fill. So 671 could be a good confirm. I wonder what Vana looks like. Ooh, yeah. That could get really fun. Yeah, somewhat bullish. Yeah, did we fill the downside gap? Almost. 79, low 77. Okay, yeah, we did. All right, I'm gonna take off. I'll catch you guys later. Pickles Picks will be out tonight. Peace.